Compression works wonders on vocals. It allows you to bring them to the front of the mix while not having to worry about their power note, making everyone in the room cover their ears. No longer do you have to ride the fader up and down so that the peaks and valleys of the vocal fit in the mix. The compressor will do this for you automatically. So let's talk about how to set a compressor for vocals. This video is brought to you by Behringer X32 Mastery, the fastest way for church sound techs to master the X32. And with a team license, you can enroll unlimited team members now and in the future. Finally, everyone will be on the same page. Visit x32.church or click the link in the description to learn more. You don't want to cut it out too much, you simply want to make it manageable. All the benefits without any of the drawbacks. So let's go through the settings on a compressor one at a time and how to properly apply them to vocals. First up, let's talk about threshold. The threshold sets the height of the loudness ceiling. In other words, it decides how loud the signal has to be to activate the compressor. So if the threshold is set to negative 10 dB, it'll compress anything louder than negative 10 dB. If the signal is quieter than negative 10 dB, it will remain untouched. For example, let's say that the threshold is set to negative 10 dB. If the signal from the vocal hits negative 6 dB, the compressor will activate and push the signal down according to the ratio. This is much like using the fader on the soundboard to bring the volume down on a singer's big note, but then bringing it back up when they begin to sing at a normal volume again. I can't give you an exact number.
Akala ko okay lang paminsan-minsan.
Baka apektado ang liver.
I take Essential with natural essential phospholipids to help regenerate, strengthen, and protect liver cells, boosting my liver's performance. Tulong para protektado ako. Essentiale everyday.
Download this app today.
Discover the Nescafe Gold difference. Made with premium Arabica beans roasted to golden perfection. For the bold yet distinctly smooth taste you can enjoy in an instant. Make your moment matter.
Vocals are your most important input, and they're the most dynamic one. Today we're going to look at vocal compression. If you missed the vocal EQ tutorial, there's a link in the description below. Vocal compression pins it in place so it can stay in your face. We want to have vocals that are clear in every part of the phrase, from the loud parts and the quiet parts. Compression can shape the dynamic range of a vocal, but it can also shape the tone of a vocal, and that's what we're going to go over today. Now, my goal with vocal compression is not to have it so that my fingers go off the faders and it rides it automatically the whole time. I'm still going to be engaged with the faders and riding them up and down as the music needs it. What I don't want to do is have to chase them around, where each part of the phrase or each part of the vocal range, I want to have hands off for that. I want to be in the music and be feeling it to take the dynamics up or back down when it needs to be gentle. Set it and forget it is for chumps and rotisserie cookers. Now, compression can also change the tone. When singers go from low and quiet to high and loud, there's a really big tone difference, and the compressor can help us with that too. When I'm setting up my compressor, I go ahead and set the threshold all the way up so that I'm not compressing at all. I preset my ratio to 4:1 and I set my knee to soft. This gives me a nice gentle transition between in compression and out of compression when the singer's going from the really quiet parts to the really loud parts. I'll also go ahead and preset my release time to about 250 milliseconds, and I'll set my attack time to anywhere between 12 and 15 milliseconds for a starting place. Now, with these starting places, I'm going to listen and start to roll down my threshold until I get about the amount of compression that I want. Then I'm going to really hear what the tone change is happening, and then I can adjust my attack time slower or faster depending on what tone change I want to make. Alright, watch how on the compressor the gain reduction comes back up for the quieter parts of the phrase. This helps even out the phrase so that all of the lines come back up and stay in our face. Remember, compression pins it in place so it can stay in our face.
You call her death, and you came back to life.
Alright, now let's listen to that same line without compression.
You call her death, and you came back to life. Back to her death.
Compressor, the gain reduction comes back up for the quieter parts of the phrase. This helps even out the phrase so that all of the lines come back up and stay in our face. Remember, compression pins it in place so it can stay in our face.
You call her death, and you came. Back to life.
Did you hear on the first line how death kind of sunk back into the mix when life kind of really jumped out at you? We're trying to even it out so that it's smooth through the whole phrase of what they're singing. All right, now let's listen to the transition between the verse and the chorus and watch how the compression pushes harder on it so that it can stay in one place. We're still going to ride our faders, we're still going to make sure it's out on top, but it's going to make it a lot easier for us to not have to shoot at a moving target all the time.
But will never die. You are our heart's design. Come as a healer, shine your name over us. You are the mighty redeemer.
All right, so you see how it didn't jump up too much. And it got a lot more jumpy when we took the compression off. This is one of the things that compression is going to make you sound more professional. It's going to make your vocals feel like they're right in one place, and you're not chasing them around in your mix so much. Now, the other part of compression is the tone change. One secret to compression is that a faster attack time makes it thinner, while a slow attack time makes it thicker. When our voice gets harsher when they're singing louder and higher, we want to counteract that with a slower attack time rather than a faster attack time. Sometimes a really fast attack time can be helpful, but it has to be used more sparingly. These slower attack times can get you a lot of compression and not destroy your vocal. All right, let's listen to this opening line of the chorus with a faster attack time and then a slower attack time, and notice the difference.
You are God's design. Come as a healer.
All right, let's slow it down and see what the difference is.
You are God's design. Come as a healer.
Do you notice how it got thicker when I slowed down the attack time? Now that's the trick that's going to make you a pro.
Hey everyone, Coach Jermaine here from Large Trade Philippines. Gusto niyo bang baguhin ang lifestyle ninyo? Gusto niyo ba magkaroon ng time freedom to have time with your family and
Now your compressor might have a peak mode or RMS mode on it. RMS is going to be essentially slower because it's looking for average signal levels, but peak mode is going to respond to the instant. Nobody leaves church humming the kick drum. The vocals are the most important part of your mix, and they're the hardest to get right. Today we're going to go over EQ for vocals so you can sound like a pro. If you're new here, go ahead and click subscribe and ding the little bell if you want to make every worship mix an enjoyable one. Vocals don't just sound good when you put a microphone in front of them. You've got to do some stuff to it. Today we're going to talk about the EQ part of it, and next week we're going to go over compression, so stay tuned for that. Once you get this formula down for great vocal EQ, you're going to sound like a pro in no time. Now all this EQ we're doing isn't because the singer is bad. We're taking a microphone and putting it really close to a singer's mouth, and that causes a lot of tonal problems that we have to then work out before it can get out in front of a big, full mix. There's basically 4 things I'm going to do with a vocal. I'm going to roll off the rumble, I'm going to take care of the proximity effect, I'm going to reduce a resonance in the mid-range, and I'm going to play safety first so that nobody gets hurt. So everybody gets a high-pass filter. I put it about 125 to 150 for male vocalists, and 175 to 2.
A vocal is normally the most important part of the mix. Because of this, EQing a vocal is an important part of building a great mix. So let's talk about a few common problem frequencies with a vocal and what to do about it. We'll start with the low mid band. The low mids can cause muddiness or a lack of clarity if there's too much, or if there's not enough low mid energy, the vocal can sound thin. Low mids are generally somewhere between 150 Hz and 300 Hz on a vocal. So let's play with that and let you hear what too much sounds like, not enough sounds like, and just the right amount sounds like. I'll start by adding some 250 Hz and let you see what that sounds like. Now you hear that sounds very muddy, very muffled sounding. So if we take that away, the vocal clears up. Now if we take too much away, the vocal sounds very thin. So we'll give some back until the vocal sounds about right. The next band of frequencies to be aware of on a vocal is the mid-range frequencies. Too much mid-range frequencies can cause a vocal to sound nasally or honky. We'll start somewhere around 500 Hz and add that to let you hear what it would sound like.
That saved a wretch like me.
So you hear that makes the vocalist sound like he has a cold. Now if we go a little higher, it'll sound very honky.
But now I see amazing grace. How
now if we take that away, the nasally sound will go away.
A wretch like me.
Be careful not to take away too much mid-range in a vocal.
Mid-range frequencies are important in a vocal because they give it punch and clarity. So I'll let you hear what it sounds like with not enough mid-range frequencies too.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. And I once was
Your vocal, but too much and it can be painful. So let's start by adding some 3K to see what that sounds like.
now found, was blind, but now I see. Amazing.
So you hear there's plenty of clarity, but the vocal could hurt if it were turned up loud. And it also sounds very thin. So now, we'll take away 3K and hear what that sounds like. So now you hear the vocal sounds very dark and very muddy. So we'll give some of that back.
Amazing grace, how sweet.
The last band of frequencies to consider in a vocal is the high band from 5K and up. This band can give you air on a vocal, or the breathy sound. It can also cause sibilance problems, so be careful. It will also make drum bleed worse if you have live drums on your stage. So we'll let you hear what that sounds like.
I see. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved.
Now I'll take it away and you'll hear how dark the vocal gets.
Once was lost, but now found. Was blind, but now I see.
And now I'll return it back to normal.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved.
Another thing to be aware of is that you should use your high-pass filter on a vocal. There's nothing useful below 100 Hz. It also helps eliminate plosives, which are the P sounds when someone says a word beginning with a P. A vocal is normally the most important part of the mix. Because of this, EQing a vocal is an important part of building a great mix. So let's talk about a few common problem frequencies with a vocal and what to do about it. We'll start with the low mid band. The low mids can cause muddiness or a lack of clarity if there's too much, or if there's not enough low mid energy, the vocal can sound thin. Low mids are generally somewhere between 150 Hz and 300 Hz on a vocal. So let's play with that and let you hear what too much sounds like, not enough sounds like, and just the right amount sounds like. I'll start by adding some 250 Hz and let you see what that sounds like. Now you hear that sounds very muddy, very muffled sounding. So if we take that away, the vocal clears up. Now if we take too much away, the vocal sounds very thin. So we'll give some back until the vocal sounds about right. The next band of frequencies to be aware of on a vocal is the mid-range frequencies. Too much mid-range frequencies can cause a vocal to sound nasally or honky. We'll start somewhere around 500 Hz and add that to let you hear what it would sound like.
That saved a wretch like me.
So you hear that makes the vocalist sound like he has a cold. Now if we go a little higher, it'll sound very honky.
But now I see amazing grace.
Now if we take that away, the nasally sound will go away. Be careful not to take away too much mid-range in a vocal. Mid-range frequencies are important in a vocal because they give it punch and clarity. So I'll let you hear what it sounds like with not enough mid-range frequencies too.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. And I once was lost, but
Alright, now I'll give that back.
Was blind.
Check.
Another important frequency range in your
Check
vocal
sound.
is the mid-highs. The mid-highs are between 1K and 5K. This gives you lots of clarity in your vocal, but too much and it can be painful. So let's start by adding some 3K to see what that sounds like.
Check. So.
Was blind,
So.
but now I see
Hello sound.
amazing.
So you hear there's plenty of clarity,
So.
but the vocal could hurt if it were turned up
So.
loud.
Hello,
It also
Mike.
sounds very thin.
Yes, so. Praise so.
So now, we'll take away 3K and hear what that sounds like.
So. Check.
So now you hear
Praise
the vocal
so.
sounds very dark and very muddy.
So.
We'll give some of that back.
Praise so. Praise.
Amazing grace, how sweet.
In this video, I'll walk you through the steps of setting up a sound system for a live event. By following these steps, you're going to avoid the most common mistakes, and by the end, you'll have a great sounding system. But if this is our first time meeting, my name is Kyle. Welcome to Audio University. The first step is to determine the room layout. It's really important to put things in place before you start making connections. Otherwise, you'll just end up.
If you are a small business owner, you need this. Gamitin mo to kesa palista-lista ka na prone to human error. Iwas kupit din if may tagabantay ka lang dahil lahat ng transactions mo sa negosyo naka-record. Bakit importanteng naka-record ang mga business transactions?
We're going to break down a song here. Thank you, Lord, since we've been working with that one. We'll break it down and just you've heard how simply these guys are playing as a team, and just this is the way we approach playing the song. Now, if we approach it differently, let them go crazy, it's going to have a completely different feel. But let's just start the song like we normally play it. Kick it off, Timmy. keep going. There's just one thing that I want to say. What could you be playing? Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for all you've given to me, for all the blessings that I can. Kind of like that. Okay, yeah. So it's funny. You know, you probably liked that. I kind of did. But if everybody gets that busy, the song's going to be crazy. Tommy, what are you doing? I come before you today. Just one thing that I thank you. It's pretty simple. Is that all you got? You